your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed where dreams can be lost.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. I'm Rosemary Lachance, and I'm a Reiki energy healer and a spiritual advisor.
And I'm Traci, Crampton, and I'm an energy practitioner.
And we are dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, and environmental concerns in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their fields. We hope we can help you find the answers you are looking for. We encourage you to embrace the show with an open mind and continue to ask questions that will lead you to better health and greater understanding in your own life. We will give you our contact information at the end of the show if you would like to know more about tonight's show or any of our past shows. We hope you enjoy the show.
This is number 77.
77.
Wow.
You're our 77th guest.
And tonight we're going to be talking to you about lucid dreaming, and we have with us Carissa Galgano. Carissa is a lucid dreaming enthusiast who has practiced lucid dreaming for just short of a decade. She has studied lucid dreaming for over 5 years and is in the process of writing a book to inspire others to explore the beneficial properties of utilizing lucid dreams. She is dedicated to spreading information about this phenomenon throughout various lucid dreaming workshops. So we want to welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome you.
It's a pleasure. So like we always do with every guest who comes on to the show is we first ask them, what led you down this path? How did you end up becoming so interested in this subject?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think with every great interest is a great passion, and I've started off at a very early age having lucid dreams, and it took me a while to realize that not everyone else was having this that I was experiencing on a frequent basis. And lucid dreaming, for those that have had it, is really a phenomenal and profound experience. And it's something that once you have it, you want to learn more about it, you want to learn how to utilize it, and it really takes you off in a positive path.
Wow. So at what age did this all start to unfold for you?
You wanted to give her age, or how much?
I know she's very young.
Yeah, she's very young, so you can still give your age.
Yeah, well, I remember having my first lucid dream when I was about 8 years old. And
Wow.
And I've had consecutive lucid dreams till now. I originally started maybe having one or two a month, and I can probably, on average, have 4 to 5 every week. So it's a skill that can be developed that everyone can learn, and exponentially it can increase if you know how to use it and how to prepare your body and your mind to really maximize the potential of lucid dreaming.
That's great. That's great. Next question would be, what is lucid dreaming for our audience?
Well, lucid dreaming is the conscious awareness that you're dreaming while the dream is taking place. And to put it in context, you have to understand that dreaming is really this enveloping thing that you don't quite question it while it's happening. It seems to be very mysterious, unusual events, unusual places. So to break that awareness and to realize that you are in a dream, you're in the mental construct of your mind, it's really a phenomenal thing.
I think I've only had like touches of experiences with that when you're in a dream that's like frightening, and you're like, okay, wake up. You know you're sleeping, and you let yourself. You're like, this is just a dream, and I think that's about the extent of my awareness in the dream. But
And the interesting thing about lucid dreaming that you touched upon actually is that 60% of people that have lucid dreams actually feel much better if they're having a negative experience when they know that they're dreaming. When you're in the moment and you're in a nightmare, it's a terrifying experience. The terror and the fear feels very real, even if the physical fear itself or physical danger isn't. And when you wake up, it's this big relief that you realize you were dreaming at the time. And lucid dreaming is actually very good for overcoming nightmares, because when you realize you're dreaming, you're able to face that fear because you realize the fear was really the only thing that was real at the time.
Yeah, you touched on a point there about dreaming about. I dream lots about people I don't even know, never seen before, heard before. I never understand that. Do you have any clue about that?
Well, it's a very interesting thing that a lot of the things we see and hear and the things we take in during the day we're not exactly conscious of, but our mind is constantly taking in all this information that we may not even be aware of at the time. So when we're sleeping, it's a way for us to collect and sort through the data that we've gotten throughout the day, and in that we spit out people or situations or words or even tones of voices that we didn't consciously know we were taking in, but at the end of the night when we're asleep, we
Do you think some of that may be like related to past lives? I mean, what's your belief on that?
Personally,
that maybe we're still processing relationships and conversations and
absolutely.
Sometimes it feels like I know them but I don't know them, so that would be past life. So what do you think?
Absolutely. Personally, I do feel that way about dreaming. I feel as though dreaming is not only a physical and mentally beneficial thing, but it's also spiritually beneficial for us. It allows us to find closure in a lot of different aspects of our lives, whether or not it's this present life or it's something that we're consciously aware of at this time.
Wow. So you said you were 8 when this all started for you. Do you recall like what that first experience was for you?
When I was having my first lucid dream experience, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not an early person to get out of bed, so I do hit the snooze button quite a few times.
Hello.
And I remember getting out of bed, being late for school, and getting ready, getting everything together, and then hearing my alarm go off again. And I was in my bed at the time, so I got up, and I thought I had been awake. I started getting ready for school again, and then looked back at my bed because I forgot something, and I was still sleeping in it. So it led me to question this inconsistency. I said, how can I be awake and still be in my bed sleeping? And I realized that I was having a lucid dream. I had this conscious awareness that I should be physically asleep in my bed, and that what I was experiencing was a dream and wasn't real.
Okay, so I have a big question. What's the difference between lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences?
The interesting thing about out-of-body experiences is lucid dreams and OBEs do occur on the same physiological level. You do have this physical relaxing sensation, and you do have the sensation of leaving your body and moving in a vehicle that is not your physical body.
The brain waves need to be at a lower state, like a theta state, or
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, although they're very similar, there is one distinct difference. Mostly it depends on your view of what's occurring, if you realize that you are in a dream or if you feel as though you're awake. Because in an out-of-body experience, you're out of the physical body, but still on the physical plane and interacting on a physical plane level. But in terms of lucid dreaming, you're in the mental construct of your mind. So it really depends on which plane you're on and how you view, if you view that you're awake or if you view that you're asleep. And actually, out-of-body experiences or lucid dreams were 3 times more likely to be labeled as out-of-body experiences if you thought that you were awake at the time. So they're interchangeable and almost indistinguishable for people that have both and experience them at the same time, but they are a little bit different from each other.
Well, I did, once I got out of bed, went to the living room and did all that, and then came back. But it was darkish. It wasn't like light, like day. It was darkish. So that I don't know. What would you classify that as, a lucid dream or an out of body? What would you think? Like dark, not light, like the day was.
Well, I would.
Sounds like a lucid dream, because like in an out of body, it would be physically the same. Like if it were night, it would still be night.
Right.
While you're having that experience.
The thing about lucid dreaming is that it's that inconsistency that gives it away. If you look at something twice and it's different the second time as opposed to the first, in the instance of light, actually turning lights on and off is a great way to do a reality check to see if you're awake or asleep. But really, I would just base the distinguishing factor of if you're in a dream or having an out-of-body experience, whether or not you think you're awake, and if you can perform that reality check to distinguish the two.
Okay. Well, how does one train oneself to have a lucid dream?
Well, really, intent is everything. Will is everything. If you believe you can, and you can dedicate the time and the consistency and the mindfulness, it's a skill that everyone can learn, and you can prepare your body and your mind to do that. And some of the ways that you can really cleanse your body and make it ready for lucid dreaming is to watch the intake of what you eat, abstaining from drugs and alcohol, drinking lots of water. But there are also many vitamins you can take that are naturally found for people that don't like to take vitamins or have a hard time remembering to take them on a regular basis, like me. There are natural foods you can take. I'm sure turkey is synonymous with falling asleep after Thanksgiving because it's got a high level of tryptophan in it.
Right.
And when you look at a vitamin that you can readily find at any drugstore, it's called 5-HCP, which stands for
Heard of that.
hydroxytryptophan. And when you're sleeping and it breaks down, it actually converts into melatonin and serotonin. Melatonin is a photosynthetic neurochemical that's emitted from the pineal gland in the brain. And
restorative,
yes,
hormone,
absolutely. It's one of those things when you are experiencing jet lag, because it regulates your circadian rhythm. They tell you to stay outside because it helps to regulate that, and then once you fall asleep, all the melatonin you've accumulated releases, and it helps you to fall asleep.
My mother's been taking that because she's having difficulty falling asleep.
And for a lot of people that don't like to take sleep medication because it makes them drowsy in the morning, or they do have adverse effects.
Yes, they do.
Melatonin is a great alternative to that because it is naturally occurring in the body, and it is an over-the-counter supplement.
Melatonin to me kept me awake.
Really? Well, you can have that effect. It's called a REM rebound. You do have a time allotment for REM sleep, and based on your circadian rhythm, when you eat and when you sleep, you can have that time of the day, or you can wake up in the middle of the night, and sometimes that is an effect of too much melatonin or not enough melatonin in the body.
I found I've been taking a little more magnesium lately because I take calcium magnesium.
Very relaxing.
But I've been taking more, an extra couple hundred of magnesium at bedtime, and sometimes I wake up during the night and I'll take another one. I find that I have more lucid dreams, not that, in other words, vivid dreams. That's what I'm looking for. Than I usually have that I've been having since I've been taking the magnesium.
I find that with kava. When I've had kava at night to relax, and it does the same thing.
And it does help you sleep.
Yeah,
and magnesium.
And another supplement that also increases your ability to have vivid dreams is called galantamine, and it's a cholinesterase inhibitor, which is basically, it prevents the enzyme that breaks down choline in the brain, and that higher concentration is what gives you incredibly vivid dreams. And it's naturally occurring. It's synthesized from the red spider lily, so it's a naturally occurring supplement that you can get too. And the other one, B6. B6 is a vitamin that gives you lots of energy. I'm sure it's in every supplement or every women's daily or men's daily vitamin, and that's also an essential part of preparing the body too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good information.
B6 is also good for high blood pressure.
Yeah,
Helps get fluid out of the body. Yeah.
And there are, if people are uncomfortable taking vitamins, there are other naturally occurring foods they can eat. Turkey, chicken, eggs, peanuts, everything with a lot of protein in it.
Or if they don't eat meat.
Yeah, if they don't eat meat,
Peanut butter.
tofu, spinach, chickpeas actually is very good.
Lots of beans,
Wheat germ, I love putting wheat germ on my cereal every day, and that's a great form of B6 vitamins and folic acid too, which is very good for that.
And some of the seaweeds and like spirulina, is it spirulina?
Yes, spirulina.
It's got a high level of B6 in it as well.
And really the essential thing to remember is that if you take care of your body, then your mind will positively reflect that. So the more nutrients and vitamins you put in your body, and the most you can abstain from drugs and alcohol as possible, will really help you to maximize your potential when you're trying to achieve lucid dreaming.
Okay, so outside of what we can do nutritionally and with supplements to kind of get our body in the state, what can we do like as exercises to sort of get in that mental state to prepare ourselves?
Well, meditation is a great way to prepare your mind for lucid dreaming. It helps you to have a sense of mental clarity. Actually, lucid dreaming was coined by a scientist who decided that it should stand for mental clarity. So the more you can meditate and still your mind and focus, the better you can prepare yourself for that. And I meditate 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night. But for people that don't have the time to, there are other things that they can do. And in terms of taking the time to just relax, the most important thing with lucid dreaming is not to let yourself get frustrated. I know we live in an instant gratification time where people want things right away. So the most important thing to remember is not to get frustrated, that, it is a skill, but it does take time, and it really just depends on your ability to dedicate yourself to it. And one of the easiest mindful tools that you can use is called a reality check. It's looking for that inconsistency in the dream that gives it away, and they're very simple things you can do. You can check the time twice. You can look at a book or a piece of text and look at it a second time, and 90% of the time it actually is different. So it's a great indicator
That it's lucid dreaming.
that you're in a dream and that it's not real.
Not real, right. What happens to the body when we fall asleep?
As we fall asleep, we notice a lot of mental and physical changes within our bodies. Physically, we find ourselves being much more relaxed. Our respiration slows down. Our heart rate slows down. We let go of the tension and the stress that we've had throughout the day. And mentally, we begin to see the disconnect or the dissociation from our frontal lobe, which is commonly associated with logical reasoning and rationalization. When you think of that, it makes it a little bit more, it makes it easier to understand why we can get caught up in what seems so unusual. When we wake up, we don't quite question the unusual events or things that took place during our dream because we're not communicating with that logical part of our mind. And we start to see the melatonin being released, and we see two sides of the coin on stages of sleep. There's REM sleep and there's non-REM sleep, and non-REM sleep is broken down into 3 stages. So the first stage is alpha sleep, which is, you're walking or you're functioning throughout the day. It's a normal level of brain activity. But as we begin to fall asleep, it starts to go down. And the 4th level is REM sleep, which is the deepest, and that's typically where dreams occur. Actually, rapid eye movement is a characteristic trait of when dreams are happening. And that's actually the easiest way to determine lucid dreaming, because we have a higher activity and higher level of REM sleep at that time.
There's been a few times in my life when I've said, I'm going to watch myself fall asleep. I'm going to see how it looks. And then I'm laying there and go, okay, now stay awake and watch yourself. Now watch yourself.
Watch yourself.
Next thing go on.
Jump. I get the jump,
Doesn't work.
Now, is it easier to remember your dreams once you become a lucid dreamer? I know, we all dream, but there are points in my life where I remember them better, and then I go through long phases of not remembering a thing.
And that is a common thing, to have very good, what we call dream recall, and then a few episodes where we have very little.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, I don't dream, I don't remember them. And lucid dreaming is really dependent on that ability to have good dream recall, because if you had a lucid dream, how would you remember? Because if your dream recall is very poor, you can't recall whether or not you had one.
Right.
And there are very easy ways to build your dream recall, and one of those ways is a dream journal. You can, usually when you wake up, 90% of what you have dreamt about is gone within the first minute. So the key is to wake up nice and slowly and to keep your dream journal in an accessible place so you can write down everything.
Yeah, right.
Really, no information is too much information when you're writing it down, because then you can look back and you can recognize some dream signs. For example, women have dreams that occur more in their house than men do. So you can look and see, where did this dream take place? Who did I interact with? What did I do? And then over the course of collecting your dream journal, you can see, most of my dreams occur at the beach, or most of my dreams involve my dog or my cat. And then you can throughout the day do your reality checks when you're around those things. So if you have a lot of dreams involving water, like you're at the beach or you're at the pool, every time you're near water during the day, you do a reality check. So when you're in your dream, you carry that mindfulness into it and you do your reality check while you're asleep. So it's really, you have to use your dream journal and your dream recall to work with you rather than against you by building that.
So all those details help you once you're in that dream state to recognize that, these are things that I dream about often, and it makes you more conscious that you're dreaming.
Absolutely.
Usually when people wake up first thing in the morning, they start to think about their day. And to me, that takes away, you can forget. the dream completely. So I tell people, just don't think, try to just lay there really still and keep a blank mind. And sometimes the dream will come back. I've had it recalled back like that, you know.
Yeah.
The minute you start feeling it, what I have to do today and what's going on, it's going, yeah. So you're right, the dream journal, or just lay there very quietly to remember it. Sometimes you don't remember it, but it'll come back. I notice that.
Yep, absolutely. And, that peace of mind and that tranquility is directly relative to meditation. That's a very beneficial effect you can carry with you. And the most important thing when you wake up is to just, lay very still, relax, pay attention to the sensations of your body, and really think about what happened in your dream. Like, just try to go through as much of it as you can, and then write down as much as you can.
Yeah, that's true. What are the benefits of lucid dreaming?
Well, there's a lot of physical and mental benefits, and most of them, if not all of them, you can carry with your waking life. Lucid dreaming gives you opportunity to practice a lot of different things, that creative problem solving, people that have artistic blocks. They actually did a study about word association after a dream as opposed to like a normal afternoon time, and they were much more unusual, the word associations upon waking up. So it helps us to connect this creative
broader
side.
perceptions of
Absolutely. And
like what is a tree, and then you may have like a much larger vocabulary to pull from because of your dreams.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It really gives you the opportunity to broaden your horizons and make unusual connections. But it also, in the respect that it helps you to overcome the sense of fear, it's very good for desensitization for phobias and anxieties. Because say you have a fear of spiders or water, when you're in a lucid dream and you're aware that you're dreaming, you realize that there's no real danger, there's no real fear, that you're able to interact with this without consequence, and in that respect you lose that sense of fear and you see it for what it really is, and something you can carry with you throughout the day, that you can enjoy a calmer, less anxious form of life.
How about if you're having a dream about someone and you wanted to ask them some questions and you woke up and said, why didn't I ask those questions? Would you be able to do that if you learned how to have lucid dreams?
Part of the benefit of lucid dreaming and utilizing it is that you can access something called dream incubation. Say that you are trying to solve a problem and it's been on your mind, you're not quite sure how to handle it. You can think about that before you go to sleep, and your brain has access to all this information, and if you go to bed with a certain problem or question in mind, it allows your brain to access all parts of itself to really integrate and synthesize that information to find an answer for you.
That's good.
In the case where you wake up and you're like, oh, why didn't I do that, or why didn't I ask that person that question that I've been wanting to ask them forever? If you go to bed with that person or that question in mind, you greatly increase your chances of encountering that while you sleep. So it's really all about intent.
Okay.
So do you sort of rehearse while you're falling asleep what scenario you would like to be in that dream state?
It's actually called a mnemonic induction technique, where you repeat something over and over. So, for example, Dr. Stephen LaBerge, his common one is, the next time that I'm dreaming, I will know that I am dreaming. Okay. And it's all about repeating the same thing, whether it's about a person or a place or a question. Because the more you repeat it, the more it's ingrained into you that you're going to be mindful of it and you're going to think of it at the time. So as you're falling asleep, it's definitely a beneficial thing to do that.
Say that again. What is it?
Mnemonic induction.
No. What was the saying that he said?
The next time that I'm dreaming, I will realize that I'm dreaming.
Next time I'm dreaming, I'll realize I'm dreaming. Okay, that's good. Got to try to remember that. Can we prolong a lucid dream?
We can. Actually, a common and frustrating problem for a lot of people starting to learn how to lucid dream is that they realize, like, oh, I'm dreaming, and they're so excited that they literally wake themselves up. And it can be a very frustrating problem, and but there are ways to counteract that and to prolong the lucid dream. And one of the most common ones is to look at your hands, because it's a very stabilizing thing.
Really?
I'm not quite sure why it works, but I can speak from personal experience that it does. And another very good one is to spin. Physically, in your ears, you have very small hairs. They're called cilia, and when you spin, you get dizzy because it messes with your equilibrium of your body. But when you're dreaming, it seems to have an adverse effect where it actually stabilizes you, and that's a very common technique people can use to prolong a dream as well.
What, now you're saying spin in the dream or wake up and spin?
Spin in the dream, sorry.
Make yourself spin in the dream. Or look at your hands in the dream.
And that will prolong.
And the other thing, when you keep in mind that overexcitement is the thing that causes you to wake up, the most important thing you can do to prolong a lucid dream while it's happening is to just stay calm and to relax and to really just enjoy the experience of having the lucid dream, because it can be very vivid, very intense, very bright, very loud, in a positive way. Our perceptions throughout the day are censored. There is a filter that they come through while we're awake, but when we're asleep, there's really no filter at all. So we experience very intense stimuli at all times. So it can be a bit overwhelming, and that causes us to wake up too. But it's really just about relaxing and enjoying the experience of lucid dreaming.
I've heard people mention similar experiences with out-of-body experiences where they finally achieve it, and then they're like, oh my goodness, I'm out of my body, and they pop right back in, and they can't get past that initial shock.
I'm just remembering, excuse me, it reminded me of something. Sometimes when I'm falling asleep, I'll feel something like I'm rising out of my butt, lifting. You ever get that? Lifting, and I want to go with it, then I come back. I say, why don't you just let it go? Why can't you? You've had that too?
Oh, yeah.
You think
Many
that's the
times.
spirit going into some kind of a dream or travel, astral travel or whatever?
I think so.
Yeah. That's a funny feeling. It's everything, something, your body's there, but something is rising up. So maybe you out there have had that kind of experience, so you're not
I have
alone.
a show on astral projection.
Yeah.
That'd be a very interesting show.
Yeah, that would be. So looking at it from a scientific perspective, do you know why we currently dream? Why do we dream?
Well, there's a lot of theories about why we dream, and to be honest, why we dream is currently, we've really only reached the tip of the iceberg, but there are a few theories about why we do. And one of those is, busy work, the mind is constantly going. There's no way it can possibly be still. It must be doing something. So some people theorize that dreams is just a way to keep ourselves busy. But other people have the idea that as we're taking in all this information throughout the day, that dreams is an opportunity for ourselves to sort out what is meaningful and what is not.
Sometimes it all seems meaningless when you dream.
And the reason that I feel that we dream is on a scientific level. We do have a lot of free radicals in our body, and free radicals are the thing that cause aging. Get out. And when our body needs to stay healthy, it's in our benefit, or to our benefit, to remove those free radicals, and the brain is no exception. So as it's going through all these neurological connections and pathways that we have, it's also clearing out these free radicals. So we really go through every memory, and we really just clean out the entire system by sorting through everything at the same time.
Wow.
Sometimes I wake up and I have dreams about, people I don't know, crazy things, I'm going, I wake up and say, why can't I have something nice like fly? I love to fly. Used to fly more when I was younger, or go someplace nice, More dreams are not great than the good ones, than having the good ones, And is there a way to control that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've heard that certain foods will actually influence your dream quality. They say, don't eat pizza before bed, or
carbs.
Or don't snack in the middle of the night, or you have a nightmare. But really, it's about your mindset as you're falling asleep. You mentioned when you wake up, sometimes people feel stressful and they can't relax because they're thinking of what they have to do for the rest of the day. And the same is true as you're falling asleep. If you're falling asleep with stress, then you're dreaming with stress. If you're falling asleep with relaxation, then you're dreaming relaxed, and you're dreaming in a relaxed environment. So really, if you're just calm and collected, and you take the time to de-stress and to really empty your mind before you sleep, you can have a much more calm and relaxed dream environment as well.
That's where meditation helps.
Absolutely.
And magnesium, too.
And magnesium helps, it does. But, I know. I meditate in the morning. I meditate not every night. I try to get to it, but sometimes I fall asleep when I'm meditating at night.
And the same is true for meditation as with lucid dreaming, that it is something that anyone can learn, but they really have to dedicate and make the time. So it's one of those things where you really need to get a sufficient amount of sleep per night. We need about 8 to 9 hours. So if you have to get up at a certain time every morning, like you have to get up at 6 or get up at 7, and you can't make the time to sleep in later, then you need to make the time to go to bed earlier.
I know. When I sleep in later, I have the most vivid dreams. That's true.
Yeah.
So I must
in the
be
morning.
cutting off
Morning dreams,
that dream time, a lot.
And actually, afternoon naps is a great way to have your first lucid dream because of that REM rebound that we were talking about earlier. But there are other ways too. It's just that interjection of wakefulness in the middle of the night. Say that you drink a lot of water at night and you have to go up and use the restroom and then you go back to sleep. Well, because you were awake for those few minutes, you actually greatly increase your chances of having a lucid dream. It's that moment that you're awake that brings that wakefulness back into your dream.
Yeah, I think so. I wake up and fall asleep many times during the night, and every time I fall asleep is a new dream. Yeah, it's true.
I just stay asleep.
No, I'm the one with the water,
Although I notice too, like on the weekend, if I can sleep a little later, I might wake up when I would typically wake up on a weekday and then fall back to sleep, and then I do have dreams then.
And that also shows the work of your circadian rhythm and your natural sleep clock with the melatonin regulation, is that even if you have like the day off the next day and you've been consistently getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you may still get up at 7 or 7:30 the latest because your body's just so used to it that if you can go to bed a little bit earlier, wake up in the middle of the night, you can really use that circadian rhythm to your benefit to induce lucid dreaming.
What is circadian rhythm? I haven't heard of that before.
It's something in the body that regulates your sleeping and eating patterns, and melatonin is one of those things that regulates it. It's photosynthetic, so you accumulate it throughout the day, and then it's released slowly over time. It's one of those things that tells you, okay, this is the time that I have to eat, and this is the time that I'm supposed to go to bed, and we see...
It's like your biological...
it tells you when to do everything.
Okay, here's what you do next.
And when we look at certain areas that have a lot of sunlight or not enough sunlight, certain areas have like 23 hours of sunlight during the day, or seasonal affective disorder, people that just aren't getting enough sunlight. We see a lot of disturbances with that circadian rhythm. We see a lot of people with overweight problems or heart problems. Their body just doesn't know how to regulate the system.
And then the opposite is true too, because I understand that, having too much like artificial light at night or even, too much moonlight coming in your window interferes with that melatonin production, right? Or release.
Absolutely. And everything in moderation is the key thing to remember. Too much of something is a bad thing, regardless of what that something is, and not enough of it can be harmful if you're not getting it, and it's an essential nutrient or vitamin to you too.
Now, in addition to meditation, I've worked with people who have difficulty meditating to use like brainwave technology, which is that you put on the headphones and it puts you in that state, and it helps to synchronize your right and left hemispheres of your brain and bring you down, in those sine waves from alpha to theta.
Those are called binaural beats too.
Yeah, binaural beats. Yeah. So do you use that?
I do. I find those to be very relaxing and very beneficial. I've used them every night actually.
Okay.
I've just found a couple of really good new resources. Lucid has a great CD that they come out with every year that has to do with that as well.
What was the name of it?
Lucid.
I've used HoloSync and Jeffrey Thompson. Yeah.
And some of the other things that you can use too, as you're falling asleep, is to really just be consciously aware of the changes that are happening in your body, because when you're in a lucid dream, those physical sensations can be the thing that wakes you up. So if you're conscious of them as you're falling asleep, the sensation of like the deep body relaxation and the sensation of moving out of your body to something else can be frightening for some people, but if you're mindful of it, you can desensitize yourself to that and it won't be so scary or unusual. And one of the frequent things that people experience while they're falling asleep is called sleep paralysis, which can be very scary for some people.
What is that?
That's as you're falling asleep, your body actually releases blockers to your neurotransmitters that, there's a reason why we don't act out our dreams, like when we're dreaming about running, that we're not running in place while we're asleep.
My daughter sometimes sleepwalks. Her talks.
And that release of the chemical that paralyzes us is the reason why we don't act out those dreams, but it can be very scary because while your mind is still awake and alert, your physical body is very still, and to the point where you probably can't move it. But it's not a harmful thing. It's something that our bodies go through every night while we fall asleep. So the important thing for anyone that's experienced it that can find it to be very frightening is that it's just a normal part of the sleep routine, and just to relax and it'll pass. It's one of those things that we just have to be conscious of and just be as relaxed and as calm as possible.
Why don't you tell our audience what it is that the thing you listen to, the headphones you were just saying?
Binaural beats.
The beats, yeah. Maybe we should tell our audience what that is so they may want to, investigate it.
Yeah.
What is that again? And what's the name of it? And what do? You buy a CD or
Yeah,
what do you do?
You can buy a CD, or you can buy them on iTunes. They're also readily available there. The way that they work is that they will regulate the different hemispheres of your brain by activating them both at the same time, but in a unique way that actually integrate them both. So it allows all areas of your brain to be activated, and the way that it works is it originally starts off very stimulating and then ends very calmly. So as it's being integrated and activated, it actually slows your brain activity down. And it's actually very interesting the way that it works, and it is very beneficial.
So if they want to look it up, what would they look up? The name would be Laura. Would you say Laura?
Llewellyn.
How do you spell that?
Llewynwl.
Okay, and they would just Google that name and it'll come up for them? Okay, and the same thing you said, Traci?
HoloSync. There's HoloSync.
HoloSync?
There's quite a few different varieties of it out there.
So what would you like if they wanted to Google what it is? What would you term it?
Probably binaural beats
if you
or
look
brainwave
for,
technology.
Things like that. Okay, so then that our audience will know what to look for. Yeah.
And there are other, besides binaural beats, there's other technology available for people that are interested in lucid dreaming. Dr. Stephen LaBerge actually came out with something called the Nova Dreamer. It looks for, it's like a sleep mask, and it looks for the activity of REM sleep, so that rapid eye movement, and when that's detected, it either flashes a light or plays a certain sound. So when you're in the dream, while your physical body is sensing this flashing light, it's incorporated into your dream as maybe a light going off in the dream or lightning storms, that sort of thing. And then you'll realize that you're dreaming at the time, or you hear that sound that's incorporated at it. Because
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's triggered to recognize the REM sleep, that characteristic of the moving eyes, and to give off that cue that you can see in your dream, or you can sense in your dream. So it's a great tool.
What is it again? Tell our
It's
audience.
called the Nova Dreamer.
The Nova Dreamer. Okay. Hope you got that down. The Nova Dreamer. Okay. There you are. Okay. The Nova Dreamer. All right. Yeah, it's important to tell them that.
Have you used that tool specifically?
I have not used that tool yet.
You probably haven't needed to.
But, I'm very interested in expanding the horizons of how to induce lucid dreaming. So that is one of the things I will be doing in the future.
Yeah, do you teach this now, or what? Are you teaching it?
I have taught people how to induce lucid dreaming because it is a skill that can be developed, and sometimes it does take some instruction. But I have positively taught many people how to have lucid dreams over the course of the last couple of years.
So what other tips do you have for, what would you tell like a new student in terms of some really important things other than diet and meditation?
Well, I would
some other tricks.
Yeah, well, I would stress the fact not to be easily discouraged. It's something that may not happen right away, but I would stress that if you can dedicate yourself to the mindfulness and the reality checks and really being diligent about keeping a positive dream journal, those are the best things you can do. But there are some other things. There's dream-initiated lucid dreaming, which we talked about with the Nova Dreamer, and the reality checks that you do while you're asleep, if you can be mindful of it by doing it throughout the day. But there's also something called the wake-initiated lucid dream, where you can take that afternoon nap, or you can wake up in the middle of the night, set your alarm to go off. Those are two very easy ways that you can induce lucid dreaming for someone that has never had one. It's a great way to experience the first one without, if they're not mindful of their diet, or if they're not mindful of mental practice. That's a great way to do it too.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you feel that you still get good quality sleep despite the fact that you're working so much in your dreams?
Oh, absolutely. While your brain and your body are resting, they're still integrating with each other, and they're still healing and going through the normal routine. If anything, I feel as though lucid dreaming has given me more restful sleep because it's given me the ability to maximize the time that I spend sleeping. We spend on average 6 hours of our lives falling asleep. And to utilize that in a way where you're positively impacting your life through creative problem solving, problem resolution, dealing with fear and anxiety, I mean, it can only have a positive effect on your body in the morning, and more restful sleep and more calm throughout the day. So I do feel as though it's had a positive effect.
Now, can you do something like, say you have a problem? Can you do something like when you're going to sleep, say, I'm going to find the solution to this problem when I sleep, or something like some words to that effect? What would you suggest?
Well, I would try to think of the nature of the problem, whether it's if it's a situation, like, for example, you have to discuss a very uncomfortable situation with someone. You need to tell someone something that they should know, but you're not quite sure how to say it. You can use lucid dreaming as a tool to try out different ways to discuss that with someone. But with dreaming incubation, where you have a problem or a solution that you need to find in mind, you can really allow your body or your mind to just find the answer for you. Where
how would you do that? I mean, before you fall asleep, what would you say? Do you say something, or how would you?
Oh, you would fall asleep saying that, tonight I'm going to speak with this person, or tonight I'm going to think about how I'm going to solve this problem. And you think of be as specific as possible. Really focus in with that intent on what you need to do and what you need to talk about. And your brain and your mind will carry that into the dream, and you'll be able to explore those different options.
So if it doesn't work the first time, you just keep trying, right?
Absolutely. And it's really all about intent. So if you're very willful when you're saying that, it's all about a mantra, whatever that mantra will be, as long as you give it that power and you're mindful of it throughout the process of relaxation and falling asleep, then you can greatly increase your chances of carrying that with you.
That's good.
And remembering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, did I remember the solution once it was presented?
Dreaming the perfect thing to say isn't so good if you can't remember it, so.
Right.
Can lucid dreaming be dangerous?
Well, I think that when you look at all the positive impacts that lucid dreaming can have on you, I don't think it's dangerous. With the topic of nightmares and fear and anxiety, I mean, if anything, it shows you that the fear you experience is real, but the danger is not. And some people have the concern that people will just be dreaming their lives away.
When people are under hypnosis and they have this, understanding that it's not happening really at that time, that they can disassociate from that.
Yep, there's that separation from the physical fear and the physical danger and the sense of the fear, and you realize that they're essentially different entities that are not the same thing. And another frequent concern of people when I talk about lucid dreaming is that, what if it's so profound that people just want to sleep all the time?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
And while that is a good and valid concern, it's physically impossible to sleep all the time because we have a limited time slot for sleep. We know we have a limited amount of REM sleep available to us. So though that is a valid concern, it is something that people shouldn't worry about because physically we only get so much sleep for a reason.
Yeah, that's true.
And we had a guest on here recently who had a near-death experience, and that was, I had heard that too with people who've had a near-death experience, that it was so profound that it's very hard for them to live in this reality afterwards. I mean, some can bring that back and it can be comforting, but others are like, wow, that's where I want to be. I want to be back there.
And the interesting thing about lucid dreaming too is that for some people, the idea of limitless freedom and the ability to do whatever you want can be frightening for people that have frequent nightmares or frequent night terrors, because they almost feel as though, well, if I can control my dream, then I really have to face this incredible fear or this incredible situation that I'm always in every night. But it allows you to actually face that fear and to overcome it. The interesting thing about lucid dreaming is that we see high levels of lucidity and low levels of lucidity, where low levels is like you may be aware that you're dreaming, but you can't consciously alter it, and then you may be consciously aware that you're dreaming and have high levels of control. So the more you can actively lucid dream, the more you can build that dream control and to face that fear and to positively change that dream environment.
What about dreams of, like, what if you dream you're dying, dreams of death?
Well,
Is
I've heard a lot of concern about, if you dream if you die in your dream, do you really die in real life? But even if that was true, how would we know? Because no one that has died could tell us the content of their dream to be true.
I have died in my dreams. I've gotten stabbed. Yeah, I walked around with a knife in me, thinking, how come I'm not dying? I've gotten shot. I've fallen, but you never hit the bottom. I got blown up in a plane. But it didn't make any difference. It didn't make any difference. I had dreamt a plane was coming crashing in out my window not that long ago. I thought, is that a premonition? No, I don't think so. And it came. I said, well, I'm going to die now. I guess I turned my head so I wouldn't see it, but it didn't. So that doesn't really bother me.
Did you wake up at that moment?
Yeah, I turned my head before it hit.
Yeah, that typically happens, right? Where you wake up at that moment.
There's no pain. And I remember thinking, I wonder why there's no pain. I guess if you feel the pain, then no problem.
Other than falling out of my bed a few times, I've never actually had any physical ill effect.
You fell out of your bed?
Quite a few times.
What are you doing?
I'm not quite sure. Sometimes I'll wake up and have this. I've had dreams of falling, and then I've actually fallen out of my bed. So aside from having the physical effect of falling physically out of my bed, I've
what
never
happened to that
up.
Dream paralysis?
Yeah, there you go, Traci.
Yeah, thought it was supposed to help, right?
Yeah.
Wow, no, I don't think I've ever fallen out of my bed. No,
I used to. When I was young, I did all the time.
Yeah, you'd fall out of bed?
Yep. Not anymore.
One of the interesting things about, while we're on the note of like falling out of bed, is something that can happen called a false awakening. That's actually happened to me quite a few times in those situations where I'll tumble out of bed and be like, oh, I haven't fallen out of bed in so long, and I'll look at my bed to go back to sleep, and I'll either still be sleeping there or the bed will be perfectly made, and I'll just like question that. A false awakening is something where you think that you could swear that you are awake, but you're still asleep.
So that's pretty common in a lucid dream.
Yep. Falling out of bed is a very good indicator, precursor to a false awakening.
Okay.
What have been some of your most interesting lucid dreams? Like, can you share with us like some of the things you've solved?
Yeah. Well, actually, one of the most interesting lucid dreams that I had was about this one particular phrase. I was in the bookstore and I realized that I was dreaming, and I opened this book and I said, okay, when I open this book, it's going to have the answer to what I need to do. And I opened the book and it said dream big on it. And that day that I woke up, I went throughout my normal routine. Nothing unusual happened. And then on 3 separate occasions during my waking day, I saw the phrase dream big. It was the most profound thing. It really just took me where I needed to go, and it was like a guiding indicator throughout the rest of the day. And it was just a very unusual experience to see or experience something in a dream that had a direct relativity to something throughout the day.
A synchronicity connection.
Yeah, and it's great the way you're able to say that. I wish I had more control like that, to be able to say, okay, this is gonna, you know that you're dreaming, you know that you're walking, you know you're opening a book. I don't. Do you? It just goes along with it most of the time.
I am recalling this one dream. I always had dreams of like big tsunamis and tidal waves.
Tidal waves.
They're coming down the street. Yes. I'm in the city street, and here it comes.
Tidal waves. I do a lot about tidal waves.
Like forever. It was always full of panic and survival. And I remember the last one I ever had, I literally just stood there, and I was very conscious of deciding what to do, and I think I had that awareness that it was a dream, that I was learning from this, and I just heard, okay, go up and go to the top floor of that building there. And I literally just walked up the steps very calmly, and I was very conscious of it. Would that be a lucid dream, or would that just be...
Well, the thing about lucid dreaming is that it's often confused with dream control, but it's not synonymous with it. You can have a dream where you're not consciously aware that the dream is taking place, but you can have a great deal of control over your environment. And on the other side of the coin, you can have a very low level of control, but be consciously aware that you're having a dream.
I think I was consciously aware, that I was having the dream, and that I had choices to make. I
don't know. I think I'd rather have not being aware and make a conscious decision, because if I was aware and I can't do anything about it, when I see my tidal waves, it doesn't come over me. I just see them happen.
No, it never. I don't think it ever came over me.
Well, I didn't
either,
run from it because I didn't think about that. But I just would see them: oceans, water, lots of water dreams all the time. Yeah.
And that's the great thing about dreams, is that they're very personally meaningful and very intrinsically relevant to us. Countless books have been written on the interpretations of dreams.
Right, Carl Jung.
And Freud. Freud has written countless books, and a lot of his content on dream interpretation has been widely used throughout the time since it was written. But the interesting thing about dreams is that a similar situation in one dream to one person can mean something else to somebody that's had a similar dream. It's really something that is deeply personable to each person and each situation. It's very unique.
So you don't think there's certain symbols or archetypes that have a universal meaning?
Oh, I certainly believe in the evidence behind archetypes and universal symbols. I believe that water water and woods and the forest have some very deeply spiritual meanings. There's just a lot of things. I mean, if you pick up the average dream dictionary and you get two different ones and you flip to the same item or animal, usually they have the same significance because of that. There are definitely some universal themes. And I think when we look at dream culture, we can see why that is, because the thing that separates us from animals on an evolutionary standpoint is our ability to reason and to rationalize. And as we were making that evolutionary change, we were still having dreams, because we know every biological thing, everything that's awake, needs to make the time for sleep. So as we're making this change for self-realization, we're still having these dreams. So we see, as far as we go back, dreams have a very integral part of our culture. We see Native Americans with dream quests, part of rite of passage. The Greeks used dreams as a way to heal themselves. They used dream incubation to find questions and answers to things that they were searching out for. So we see these universal symbols as a result of that not only are they not geographically or historically isolated, that dreams are really an integral part of who we are.
And I think we always awake with that understanding that there's meaning and that we have to investigate and analyze to find the deeper meaning.
I had an interesting thing happen. Maybe you can explain it. I was vacationing with my friend in Florida at her house. She was working half a day, and then we were going to go out. It was like it was a Saturday or something. And so I had gotten up and did breakfast or whatever, and it was like 4 hours had passed, and I sat on the couch and I was reading, and all of a sudden I fell asleep on the couch, and I had a dream, and in a dream I heard turned television on, there was a newscaster on, and he said, there's green gas coming from Russia. There's green gas coming from Russia, and I woke up. I go, what kind of crazy thing is that? So a little while later, my girlfriend came home. She came in the house, and she put her stuff down. She turned the television on. And when she turned it on, a newscaster came on and said the nuclear, that time the nuclear power plant had a problem, and some of the radiation was coming over to the United States. I said, I just had a dream there was green gas. I don't know, So what would that be?
Well, I think that would be an example of how premonitions play a direct role in lucid dreaming.
Okay, yeah, tell us about that.
I definitely feel as though dreaming allows us to access parts of our mind, and throughout the waking day, we're definitely conditioned by time, but when we're in a dream, we have access to this.
Yeah.
Exactly, we have this access to this timeless thing, whatever it is, however you want to describe it. And in that essential thing is all this information that's not restricted by time in any way. So we do have access to things such as premonitions. Absolutely.
Like one of my most vivid dream was when I was 5, and I had this dream that I was in this in this person's backyard. I hadn't seen the backyard before. I remember going through the back of their house, which had an indoor pool, into the backyard, and it was a frightening dream, the scenario. And then a couple months later, we went on a trip to Florida, and sure enough, this was the exact house with the exact pool, with the exact backyard, and I was scared to death because it was a frightening dream. I'm like, I'm not going out there. But I do recall that.
And there's also another situation that we can experience, if not premonitions, that's something that's called deja vu, where we've been in a situation and we could have sworn that we'd been there
Yeah,
before.
what is that? I've heard different theories. I've heard the mind races ahead a little bit. I've heard you dreamt about it. What is that? Do you have an...
Well, there are many different theories for what deja vu essentially is, and one of those has to do with the archetypes or models that we have. While we're asleep, our mind constructs a mental model of our world, and that's what we inhabit while we dream, and those have a lot to do with perceptions and archetypes of certain people or items. And deja vu may sometimes be a mistaken coincidence. Like, if you're looking for a coincidence, 9 times out of 10 you will find one, and that's one of the explanations for deja vu. But I personally feel as though if you have been somewhere, maybe in a past life or in a past situation, that it reminds you of it in this unique way. And I feel that's essentially what deja vu is. And when you dream about something and then you experience it later on in the day and you associate that with deja vu, I feel as though it's because you're in this timeless place where you can access anything, be anywhere, and when you're in the waking day and you have that experience, it's one of those things where you...
Confirms it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, when it happens, you just feel like time stands still for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when I see spirit of some kind of animal spirits I see, it's like time stops. And the deja vu is the same thing. And everything that the whole scene is exactly what happened
Well, I
before.
think that time and space are just helping us to process our very dense earthly experience, but in spirit, there is no time or space.
Right.
So we have these, spiritual moments where that ceases to exist and everything is all in the moment,
It's funny, that feeling when it stands still, isn't it?
It is very cool.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I can't explain it.
And it's
doesn't
always
last so
like
long.
some meaningless thing that you're doing, like flipping an egg in a pan or something.
Yeah.
You're like, I did this before. You know what I mean? And she came in the room and she said that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, it's true. Well, time is up.
Fast.
Oh, wow, that went by so fast.
Can you believe it? Time is up. So it's time to say bye. And we're going to give the people your information.
And you're hoping to do some workshops in the future?
Yeah,
I
that'd be
certainly
great.
am.
So-
I'm always interested in doing workshops. I'll be doing some in the near future, and I'm always interested in having people write to me. I'm always...
Here's Carissa's information
Yes.
right here. Carissa Galgano, Dream Big, Dream Lucid at yahoo.com.
Okay, now we'll give you
Fabulous.
our information. For information about this show or any of the other shows, to find out when our shows will be playing in your area or any questions you may have, you can email us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com or call me, Rosemary, at 203-627-7966 or Traci at 203-232-3405. And you may now visit us on Facebook. You can have discussions with us, and you can write us email, letters,
Questions,
do
whatever.
anything you want. So I will read the quote for tonight, and this is what it is. The more scenes you see of earthly existence in your own life and the lives of others and in your alternative earth dreams at night, the more honestly you can desire and live for the pure, sweet truth of the heavens of Creator. The unchanging love of Creator is the prize and the example to keep always in your mind. Let your mind become like Creator's mind as you completely realize that even within the dream, you are bidden to be a good example, a simple shining of the love of Creator. All mistakes and current ones are forgiven if you can forgive them yourself, in yourself, and forgiving others. Cease to judge and be free. Cease to judge and learn to love. Love always. Good night. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much.
It was wonderful.
Good night.